good stuff. I really wanted to get a few more plates, but I thought maybe I shouldn't. Well, we're going to look at this video here in just a minute, and mostly I think I want to, the only thing I really want to say before we watch it is I just want to just be really thankful for my family. All these things that you'll see in this video, my family has a huge part in that. And my boys and my daughter, who's now in the States, she just got married. I guess we're working on 2 years now she's been married. She's a huge part of our school and our ministry. And her and Miss Melanie, they led Kids for Christ, which is kind of our kids club program. We'd go into a village for 3 or 4 days and do that. And she taught school, and the boys all work in all different aspects. They're covering all the bases while we're here, and it's a privilege to serve with your family. It's a privilege to serve with your family, and so we'll watch this. It's probably maybe a little bit longer than well, it's not 2 or 3 minutes. It's a little bit longer than that. But then if you have some questions, I'd love to answer some questions if you've got any of those. And then with the time that we have left, we'll look at Revelations chapter 3. So my brother, let's go ahead and we'll just cue that up and play it. Do I need to move this back here a little bit?
Chad Wells family serving in the southern highlands of Papua New Guinea. I want to take you on a little tour of the ministry over the past 4 years, some of the hardships, and some of the victories.
In 2017, we hosted the National Independent Baptist Pastors Conference. 300 pastors and preachers from all around PNG came. The main focus of the conference was the King James Bible and missions. We had the great privilege of having Dr. Sam Gipp and Pastor Tim Ellis as our main speakers. Everyone received a full bag of pastoral help books and tracts that were printed in the print shop, a songbook, and a newly published Pidgin English side-by-side Bible as well. It was a great encouragement, and many found a new love for the Word of God. Amber was the head chef and worked with her helpers to provide 3 great meals each day, plus coffee and desserts following the evening services. The boys worked tirelessly to make sure that everything went smoothly. The months of preparation continues to pay dividends to this day. We started the term with 2 upgraded presses, which greatly increased the quality and printing speed. We suffered a significant setback in the print shop in 2018. We were woken up in the middle of the night by Gideon, one of our dorm students, letting us know that the print shop was on fire. We lost several pieces of equipment and a lot of supplies and printed material. But we thank God that we were able to get the fire contained quickly, and we didn't lose the building. We are operational again, but there are still repairs to be made and equipment to replace. Even with the fire, there were still over 750,000 tracts printed, as well as 9 different books.
And then fold them
We continue to distribute the King James Pidgin Bible, and in 2017 published the Pidgin English Side-by-Side Bible, which has been a great study aid. We are nearing the end of our supply and will need to do another order soon. We have also had the privilege of working with VIMI, distributing King James Bibles to the schools in the Southern Islands. We have distributed Bibles to 36 schools and have 167 schools yet to go. The Bibles are there, but we need the time and personnel to get them out. In 2018, Papua New Guinea suffered an earthquake that measured 7.6 on the Richter scale. The epicenter was just 90 miles away. There was a lot of damage done here on the mission station, with water tanks, buildings, and houses. Two of our churches were also damaged beyond repair, Tangai and Ende. Both of these churches have now been rebuilt. There was a heightened level of fear after the earthquake, and during the over 270 aftershocks that followed. The people were extra receptive to the gospel, and we saw many throughout the various ministries accept Christ as their Savior. We were excited to welcome Melanie Ellis to the Pangia ministry team in 2017. She has been a great asset to the school and ministry. Melanie leads the academic side of our school and has really helped to bring the school to their level. Amber has just finished her 9th year of teaching, the last 7 being with the first grade class. Derek has just finished his 4th year teaching the kindergarten class. John continues to do a great job as the acting principal. The school has been able to add 4 more teachers. The death of one of our teachers, Doris, was quite a blow. But she had a great testimony. The day before her unexpected death, she challenged the children to remember that life is short and that we should put our minds to serving God. These last few years, I've worked with the government to get ACE schools recognized in PNG, and that has now happened. This is an answer to many years of prayer. With this new recognition, we now have a great need to build an additional classroom and expand our school. The school continues to be a great field of harvest.
As a first grade teacher, one of the things I love seeing is how the kids start out the year with no reading, writing, or English, and they end the year being able to read, write, speak in English confidently. We had 2 brothers this year who were rejected from the government school system, come into our school, and both have grown so much. They can both read their Bibles in English. But I think the thing that is most exciting for us teachers is that both boys received Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. And we really look forward to seeing how God uses these 2 brothers in the future.
Soldiers for Christ and Kids for Christ are both newly established ministries this term. Kirsten and I developed a 3-year Soldiers for Christ youth curriculum, complete with books, badges, and uniforms. Each club night we have well over 80 kids packed into the classroom, many of whom sneak onto the mission station after dark in order to come. There has been many kids saved in this ministry. Many other churches around the country have begun using Soldiers for Christ as their youth curriculum. Melanie and Amber started Kids for Christ, and it has been a rousing success. They spend several days in the village telling stories, doing crafts, and playing games. They also give Bible lessons and a clear presentation of the gospel. There have been many saved in this ministry as well. We look forward to expanding both of these outreach ministries even more in the next few years. Trevor and Connor preach in separate government schools each week. Connor preaches at the Kumiana Grade School, and Trevor preaches at the Pangia Grade School. Both do a great job, and the kids look forward to these classes each week. Your missions dollars has contributed to the purchase of 4 plots of ground and the construction of 5 new church buildings. 2 churches that were started last term were turned over to national pastors, and 2 new churches were started. Kumiana was started and given to our newest addition of the Pangia ministry team, Justin and Kaylee Dye. Justin was able to lead them for 10 months before he and his family had to return to the States for some medical treatment after the birth of their 3rd daughter. We anticipate their soon return. In the interim, Derek, along with Stephen, have been taking care of this church plant. Derek has led them for the last 10 months and has developed a great love for the people. Derek officiated his first funeral there and has been learning discernment in dealing with a multitude of problems that comes with leading a flock. The other new church plant is in Lama Sawmill, a very rough and tumble community. Our sawmill broke and I had to start buying lumber. This opened the door to start talking with Alex, who runs a small mobile sawmill. After several weeks of witnessing to him, he invited me to come and preach in the village. We started coming and preaching in the open-air market area. It took 5 weeks of preaching before the first person accepted Christ, and many have been saved since. We now have purchased ground and have a tarp church set up. The people are working to level ground for a Sunday school classroom, which will be started soon, and for the new permanent church building that will be built upon our return. We are excited that Lama has now taken on 2 foreign missionaries for monthly support. Although the amounts may seem small, they have really caught the vision for world missions. There is a great need for a work to be started in Arave, about 5 hours away. We held a tent meeting there and 53 people came to Christ as their Savior. We usually do about 6 evangelistic meetings each year, traveling out to the more remote locations and setting up the tent. The new 4-wheel drive trailer hauls the tent and supplies and has been a great benefit to the ministry. We need more workers and more help in this area. There is a great open door. I had been praying about starting a radio ministry here in the Wiru tribe for over 5 years. In December of 2019, God opened the door and showed me that it was time. We started construction on a small radio station building, and I ordered some very basic equipment. The most important components arrived just as the coronavirus began to shut down things globally. We went on air the day after the lockdown started in PNG and temporarily closed our churches. I bought some small radios from a local trade store and got them to some of the people in the Kumiana and Lama church plants. Then we started preaching on the air. God's timing was impeccable. The radio plays from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and there is daily preaching, Bible reading, and lots of good, godly music.
We were able to start the radio in December of 2019. We were able to play lots of different kinds of programs. We have preaching 2-3 times a day. We also have Bible reading every morning and night. We have a time for kids, where we do lots of kids programs and songs. We have News Hour. We just have lots of God-uplifting songs. The way it works is, it starts with our computer program here, heads to our mixer board. From the mixer board, it heads up to the transmitter. The transmitter changes it right to the antenna, sends it out.
This is the Pangia where we were at. So it reaches all parts of the Pangia about 12 miles, and then it goes as far as Tindua and Lama and stops somewhere at there.
Thankfully, the shutdown in PNG only lasted for 7 weeks, and we're able to get back into the churches very quickly. In reality, the virus has not affected us much here in the Southern Highlands, and we have been able to continue working fervently in all the various ministries with minimal interruption. One thing that was affected was our monthly pastors' fellowship. Our pastors come from 3 separate districts, and travel was affected for a time. These fellowships have grown from around 30 to over 60 each time. We usually have 3 days of intensive preaching and teaching. We are systematically working through the major doctrines of the Bible, pastoral problems, and the like. We look forward to starting back up on our return. Although you can see through the videos and pictures and hear the stories, there's nothing like coming and seeing it for yourself.
Ruth, I'd like to encourage you, whatever you have to do, go mow yards, have lemonade stands, save your money, and come to a place like this on a missions trip.
This term we've had many visitors come on short-term missions trips, young and old alike. There are many opportunities for short-term missions trips: Bible distribution, medical, teaching, preaching, helping in the school or print shop, and even building. Come and see the work and put your hand to the plow in this great field of harvest. We are excited to see what God will do over the next few years as we look forward to growing and expanding several ministries. As we increase the radio station's coverage, we'd like to put a handheld solar radio that is locked to our station's frequency in the hand of every pastor and village leader within its effective range. The school continues to grow, which has led to the need to purchase a 25-passenger bus. In order to accommodate the growth of our monthly pastors meeting, we need to build 2 new additional pastor and Bible school dormitories. These are able to accommodate 24 pastors each. As God leads, there will be more church plants. We are also praying about walking through the open door to start one at the new Pacific University being built nearby. Thank you for your continued support and prayers as we charge ahead.
So we've got a couple updates from that. Several churches, including our own church there at Treasure Valley, purchased the items that we needed in order to expand the radio station. So we went from 25 watts and 12 miles to 150 watts, and we're not sure how far that goes yet. But it goes out significantly further. And then also those little blue radios, you saw those little blue radios, those are little solar radios. We actually, another church in Tennessee, bought 500 of those for us. Actually, they bought 500. However, the company in Canada that actually puts them together, they have their Bible school students put those together. They were just encouraged, and they liked the ministry, and so they ended up giving us 1,000 instead of 500. And so that was a blessing. I was hoping for 100 or so, Oh, ye of little faith. And so we've got those out. We've begun to distribute those. And so, man, we're really excited about that radio station. A couple churches got together and actually did buy us that bus that you saw. Not that exact one, but they bought us one. And so that works 6 days a week, 5 days a week for the school, picking up kids, bringing them in. And then we also use it on Sunday. And then as well as that, we take our Bible school students to some of the city centers. We take them to Mount Hagen. We've done that a couple times to go give out tracts here. About 2 months ago, we took our about 22 Bible school students, and we went and we got about 10,000 tracts out in about 2 hours in Mount Hagen. And so that was really exciting. So that bus gets used nearly every day. We had some visitors here with us just a couple weeks ago, and they had given to that bus, and so they asked about its fruit. And you say, well, it's really hard to tie folks getting saved directly to a particular item, but we sat down and kind of thought about it, and we're somewhere between about 30 and 40 people that, because of that bus, have the opportunity to be in services and that have gotten saved over the 6-7 months that we've had that bus. And so we're really excited about that. That they were so excited about that that the one fella called his church and said they need another bus. And the other fella called 3 of his friends that he preaches missions conferences for and said they need another bus. And so about a week ago, I bought another bus. And so now we'll send buses 2 different directions, and for school kids, and then Derek will probably end up using, or Trevor will end up using one of the other bus on Sunday for a new church plant that will probably get started here in another month or so. So that's really exciting too. And then let's see, there's one more little update in there: the radio, the bus, the school. So the school, we're still working on a new classroom and stuff. I have actually purchased a bunch of metal tubing and all that, so we're going to weld together some trusses and some posts to build a little. Well, it's not too small. It's about 40 by 50, so not too different than this auditorium here that we'll use in the for the school. And so just trying to get everything timing right and all that put together. You know, when you've got the money, you don't have the time, and when you've got the time, you don't have the money, and those kinds of things. So we're really excited. I think I've mentioned a few times the new church plant that Derek has actually started. We went there and we did a Kids for Christ program there, and I got a bunch of kids, and then his first Wednesday night there, I think he said they had 68 folks inside. You saw those little tarps that we use, and coming in and sitting and listening to the gospel preached. So we're excited about that ministry. The Dye family, they had to leave for medical for their daughter. They're back and working, and the ministry is charging ahead. And so it's exciting, and we're encouraged, and we ask that you just continue to pray. And I don't know if there's any questions. I love to answer any questions. But that depends on you. If you want to know something, or there's something in there that maybe you had a question about, I'd be happy to answer any of those. I think we have a little bit of time. I've got a little lesson here that we'll give, but does anybody have any questions? Yes. So we all speak. There's lots of languages in the country. The school kids, we teach them in English. That's kind of the language of education. But everybody pretty much speaks Pidgin, which is fairly simple. And then our tribe, of course, has its own tribal language. So all the family speaks Pidgin. I speak our local language because I grew up there, so I got a chance to learn that then. But most all the communication is done in Pidgin. Yep. Great. Yes, sir. Ja, tu miken wogi more same, so was you play like Adam some blood talk pisin, emi no one plus strong plus something that's all he got planted talk inside, that's all got a words blong emi no got strong blong em. So I may have to. So what I said was in Pidgin. Pidgin's a really simple language, and we don't have a lot of words, so we have to always explain everything with lots of other words. So sometimes Bible concepts are a little bit tough because you don't just have really nice words that have deep meaning. You got to just go all the way around, and maybe that's why I preach the way I do. I don't know. All right, anybody else? Super, good questions. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
The bus obviously wouldn't be four-wheel drive.
No, so
So it's limited where it can go.
very much so, yep. So right in Pangia, so the road coming from town to us is really nice now. It used to take, when I was a kid, it used to take us between 6 and 7 hours to get to that same point. Now it only takes about 2.5 hours because they fixed the road. So we run the bus that direction on that good road, and which is where our new church plant is, Lama, and that's where we're picking up kids. And so it is very limited on how far I can go and all that. So, but good nonetheless. My dad was shocked. He's like, "What are you doing with a bus? You can't even get a bus out there." It's like, "Dad, the road is good." So good. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Right. They're all the same struggles that all the kids around the world have. And here's why, is because the kids in the village, yes, they don't have any phones or anything like that. However, the high school is in Pangia, so you got 250 villages, and the kids come and they stay at the high school to come to school. So there's about 1,000 to 1,600, I think 1,600 kids this year in the high school, in the government high school. And so because education has become a god, as it is in many countries, you've got their parents, which are, living in a bush hut, raising pigs and just working in the garden, just doing everything they possibly can to make their children successful in education. And so the kids go and they get a little taste, and so they send word back, "Hey, I've got to have a smartphone." And you can get a really cheap smartphone in New Guinea, for $100, which is about a year's wage for the average village person. And they will sell pigs, and they will do what they can to buy that for their child, because the kids say, "Oh, Dad, I've got to have this for school, otherwise I'm going to fail my classes," which of course is a lie. And so they do have those now, which is a horrible thing, because there's no filters and there's no supervision, and many of those kids have no, the moral dilemma of the country is, it's really bad. So yeah, definitely pray for that aspect. When Digicel came in 2009, and we got our first phones, we had about 120, 130 kids in our Sunday school youth class on Sunday morning. The first weekend that those phones were on, we had 30 kids. Because they're like movies, YouTube, and of course the phone company made data free for about a week. So they learned really fast. So yeah, definitely pray about those things. Anybody else? Yes. So the picture there where I had two fellas in suits, that was the Prime Minister and the Minister for Education, for Higher Education, who I worked with in trying to get ACE recognized so our kids can go to school. We're actually in elections right now. That fella there is the current Prime Minister, and I'm really hoping he gets out. But God has given us a good relationship with the government. The government is very friendly towards the gospel. In some ways, actually too friendly, because they just want to give lots of things. And of course, I don't think they have any strings attached now that they're aware of, but the next guy might pull those strings. So yeah, we have to be very careful. Yep. Mr. Bard.
You said when you church plants and things like that, you purchase properties
Mm-hmm.
and build buildings for them. Do you ever run into issues with that in different villages? And do you do that everywhere you go, or is it just in certain areas in the
Yeah, we don't. There's really not a lot of problems there. Usually, when we go start a church, we try to. I've kind of changed how I do things a little bit, but I usually buy the ground, and which will cost not very much. Usually, the ground will be like to get maybe like the size of ground that you guys have here would cost me about maybe $1,000. Usually depends on how close it is to the road. If it's a village I have to walk to, it'll be significantly less. If it's on the road, it might be a little bit more. So usually I buy the ground, and then we get all the paperwork for that, and so it belongs to us. And then we set up those tarp churches, and the people start saving, and of course we're saving as well, and we try to do it 50-50, because what's happened in the past is when you just stand up a building for them, then it's still ours. Even though we gave it to them, it's ours. And so if there's any problem, they come and say, come fix your building. And so we try to do 50-50 now. We'll do half, and they have to save half. So they can get money. They don't make money, but they can get money by selling pigs and stuff like that. So they can get money. But the thing is, they don't really have it in the village. There's no bills. There's no power. There's no water, no insurance. They build their own houses. They own their own ground. They work the garden. So there's no bills, so to speak. So any kind of money they can earn is really almost disposable. So it works pretty good. It works pretty good. Does that answer that question in a roundabout way? Good questions. I like these questions. Anybody else? Yes? Yes. So in the Wiru tribe, the Catholic Church actually got there in 1952, 53, along with the Lutheran Church. And there's also the Holiness Crowd is there. And let's see. That's really, in our tribe, the Independent Baptists, we have the most churches of anybody else. But the Catholics are pretty strong throughout the entire country. For some reason, they seem to get everywhere first. And the Mormons are there a little bit in a couple different places. Their version of religion doesn't sell very well in New Guinea, to say the least. It's really the charismatic movement is really what is pretty strong there. The Catholics are pretty strong because they just mix in whatever local culture and religion is there, so they just mix all that in, so they love that too, because they don't have to change. They just keep going and just change the name of their God. So, yeah, all those are there. All those are there. Yes? Crime is definitely there. Witchcraft is, yes, there are people that all of that witchcraft is there. All the idol worship and sacrifices and cannibalism and torture and all of that is there. And it's illegal, but so is stealing. And so it's all there. It still all happens. It's a little bit more hidden than it used to be, but it's definitely there. And crime is there's a lot of petty crime. I guess what theft and getting robbed and that kind of stuff is there. Most of the murder and all that is kind of disguised under tribal fighting, and so but it's all still there. It's all still there. It's not as bad as, it is really bad, but it's never aimed at us. As missionaries, we are very, very well respected. You can drive through tribal fights. I've driven through tribal fights. They stop fighting, let me drive through, and then they start fighting again. And so they respect us as missionaries very much so. Yes, Jackson. No. So in 2000, my brother Brad started KBBN, Bible FM. That was the first Christian radio station in the country. And so what we have now is, so that only reaches really the four main city centers. He has repeaters in those four main city centers. But that doesn't reach us, and so So we have our own little tower and all that, but we're still under KBBN 105.1. So it's still under my brother Brad's radio station. And then, like my son Derek was just with brother Joseph Anderson in WEWAC doing the same thing. It's kind of a little satellite. It's still the same numbers. Bible FM, that's Bible FM WEWAC. We're Bible FM Pangia. Jason Russell has Bible FM Daru. And another fella has Bible FM Kyunga. And so we're just trying to get in these little places. So they're all separate. We all have our own content, but still under the same name. Catholics have a radio station. The Seventh-day Adventists have a radio station. 80s pop music has a radio station. And, yep. Mm-hmm. No, so the Wiru language is not really written. Most of the languages are not written. Now, I say it's not really written. SIL, Summer Institute of Linguistics, did translate the New Testament into the Wiru language. It took them about 18 years, and it's unreadable. And so they invented their own way to pronounce the words, and so basically what you would have to do, which they didn't do, is they just came and dropped the Bibles off. They gave me a couple cartons and said, the Wiru tribe is evangelized, here's the Bible, have at it. And so they gave me some books that actually teach you how to read it, but it didn't work. It didn't work. So that was 18 years wasted, sadly. Yep. So we always preach in Pidgin, which most everybody can understand Pidgin. However, if there's if there's someone that does not speak Pidgin, then we will use a translator into the Wiru language. So sometimes there'll just be 2 or 3 people, usually some older people that don't understand Pidgin, and so then we'll have a translator because they need fed too. So, and like when we have visitors come, we use a translator. They'll preach in English, and then I'll translate. You saw several of those pictures and videos where my son's translating for different guests that we've had over the years. So, yeah, we always go at least into Pidgin, and most of the time, or half the time, we go into the Wiru language as well. Yep. Try to go to the lowest common denominator of understanding. That way, everybody can get it. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? These are great questions. I like these questions. My opinion is the more you know about it, the easier it is for you to pray about it, and the more you know, it's a good thing. So I appreciate these questions. Yeah, so because Mount Hagen, which is the 3rd largest town in the country, about 60,000 people, that's about 2 hours away from us, 2.5 hours away. So we can buy most all the staples there. You can't buy anything that's pre-made or anything, but all the staples you can buy there. So we as a family, we eat really normal. Kirsten does a great job, and she cooks up a storm every day, and so we eat very normal. However, what the people eat, we don't really have any kind of great well-known food or anything. Traditionally, the people eat garden food, so they have lots of greens. The sweet potatoes, which they usually just cook in the ashes down under the fire, or they boil it in pots. Rice has become a staple. That's all imported. That's kind of rich man food at this point. At least they think it is. And we have chickens, and mostly the protein is pigs. We have lots of pigs, so they kill and eat those. But there's no refrigeration. There's none of that in the villages. So they'll kill a pig, and it's all gone, and then they won't have protein for another 3 or 4 weeks at most. So, Jackson. Yes. So where we're at the end of the power line, and that's usually off about half the time. So we do have a big diesel generator that we use, and when we go out and set up tents and stuff like that, I usually take a little generator with us and put lights up and those kinds of things. But out in the village, there's no power, so we've just recently started in the churches putting solar lights. We used to use Coleman's, kerosene Coleman's, but now we use solar lights. They're cheaper and they seem to be you don't have to mess with them so much, so it's a little bit easier. Okay, anybody else? Pastor, we've about eaten all of our time, but I hope the questions are all right. Anybody else? Just maybe one more?
You mentioned many churches. How often do you get around to each one? And when you go, do you end up spending a long time out, or do you just pretty quick to get in and out?
Yeah, it depends. Right now, since I've been trying to get this church in Lama started, so I haven't been getting out as much. But that's starting to wean off, and I'm starting to go out a little bit more. It's hard to say. Most of the churches that I can get to in a day and get back. So I can leave early Sunday morning and be back by Sunday night. Most of them I can drive the majority of the way and maybe just walk an hour. There's a couple that are 4 and 5 hour walks, and I don't get there too often. But a lot of them you can drive to. I guess it's kind of like driving. Sometimes walking is faster, but and so I don't know. A lot of what I found is because there's so many. There's about 50 churches, and so it's just easier to bring them to me. And so we use that with the bus. We go to the end of the road, and we take the cruisers and bring them all in every month for 3 days. And so that's kind of how it's easier to have influence that way than to actually go. But I still do go. It's just I can't get to all of them, even in a year, because there's only 52 weeks, and I still have to be at my own church. So
when you go out, it's not necessarily a schedule, or you just show up and then...
A lot of times I do, yep. I just show up because there's some places that you genuinely cannot get to if it's raining. And so usually guys, when they come to that pastor's meeting in the month, they'll say, man, please, can you try to make it out this month to me? And if it's someplace I can drive to without too much difficulty, we'll set it up. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll preach in Lama on Sunday morning, the church plant, and then from there I'll just go to one of the other ones and we'll do the afternoon service. Or like a couple weeks ago, we went to Pastor Benny's church, Tengai Independent Baptist Church. I preached Sunday school and Sunday morning, and then on the way out we passed by New Testament Baptist Church, Pastor Benny Kalinga, and so I preached the afternoon service there. And then almost back to about an hour from the mission station was Pastor Pierce at Exodus Baptist Church, and so I preached there. So I got 3 in one day. So they're pretty flexible with time. It's Sunday, we're doing church. So, yeah. All right. Anybody else? I guess that's